Hello, the batteries for my electric bike have arrived. There's these big 10 amp hour ones there, and I've got 4 of those, so it's going to be a 16S pack when it's all put together. I had some people say that these are probably not going to be very good for this project, but I mean 10 amp hour at 10C discharge should be capable of 100 amps continuous. And let's be a little bit pessimistic and say that this is a grossly overstated claim, and it's actually only 5C discharge that they're capable of without, overheating and stuff. That would still be 50 amps continuous. And the speed controller that came with this electric bike kit is a 40 amp speed controller, 40 amp continuous, I presume. So I'm not sure if that means that it's only ever going to be pulling 40 amps, or whether the motor might actually be capable of pulling more than 40 amps. But even so, that's probably going to be around full throttle. So you're not going to be doing full throttle all the time. So even if this is not 10C, it should still be able to handle the 40 amps without too much trouble. So I don't think they're going to be a problem, but it will be a very short range bike, because 10 amp hours is, it's not much really for this kind of energy usage. A lot of these bike batteries, they're like 16 amp hours at least. Seems to be pretty common. Basically the batteries need to go into this sort of diamond. Well, it's not really a diamond, is it? Whatever kind of shape you want to call that. So my idea for making a box for the batteries is going to start with this big piece of plywood. This is actually, I don't think it says it on there, but it's H3.2 treated, so it's okay for periodic encounters with water, so I've heard. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a long-term thing, because what I really would have preferred to do is make it out of plastic panels, but the only ones I could find were very expensive, and they were quite flexible, which is not really what I wanted. So I'm going to go with plywood for this one, but it might not be a permanent one, so I'm just going to do a really quick and rough job on it, and just in case in the future I do want to get some larger batteries, and then I'll have to probably make another box anyway. So this one's going to be a bit rough. Good excuse, isn't it? But the idea is that I'm going to take a strip of about 8 or 9 centimeters like that, cut it there, and then use these things to attach that to the pipes on the bike. They're a little bit small actually, these, so I might have to do a little bit of filing on the inside to make them just fit. So then on the other side of the plywood we'd have that, and that would give us something like this. These double lines is like looking at that piece of plywood from the side, and then on top of that, once I've got that in place, I can just put another piece of plywood as the side of the box and attach it with these thingies, just sort of corner joint things to screw them together. And the screws that come with these are a little bit long, so I've got some other ones which are probably going to be the right length. The speed controller has very similar sort of things on it to those, so I could actually use this speed controller mount directly onto the back of the plywood as like part of the structural bit holding it all together. So yeah, at the moment I'm thinking this is going to be in the box as well entirely, so that's not very good for airflow and keeping it cool, but I'm considering perhaps making a little bit of a cutout in the box to make the box nice and slim, because the batteries are a little bit slimmer than this, see? So it would be cool if the box was just sort of big enough to hold the batteries, nice low profile, and then if the part where the speed controller was just had a sort of a cutout like that, that might look pretty cool, I think, and it would help it to keep the speed controller cool as well. So that's why I drew this on here. I'm just going to lay out those components and see how they fit in nicely. And then the other thing I got here is just some like squashy foam tape that I might put around the batteries to stop them from bouncing around directly on the plywood so much. I'm also considering making the batteries in a separate thinner plywood box that I can just reach in and like pull it out and take it inside to charge them. That would make things a lot more convenient. So one side of the box is going to be sealed with these things, and the other side of the box I'm thinking, not sure if I got the right kind of hinge here or what, but I'm thinking to actually make the other side of the box hinged so that I can just open it up and take the batteries out nice and easy. So anyway, that's the plan. Yeah, that's as far as I've thought through at the moment, but we'll see how it goes. So this is probably how I'll lay things out inside the box. It's not really a final decision because I don't really need to make a final decision, and it's probably better to make the box and then organise it later, but I just wanted to do this to make sure I'm not embarking on something that's going to leave me with an impossible small size to put things in. So the batteries, I thought about making them staggered a little bit, like each one like that, so that they'd fill up that bottom space pushing against the bottom on both surfaces. But if I do end up making a plywood box for them to go inside there, it will be much easier to make it square. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. And if it is a problem with them sort of thumping forwards when you go over a bump and stuff, I'll just put a solid block of wood in here to take up this space. I want it to go flat against the bar actually, so I'm going to have to file something out of here at each end. Yeah, that's better. Okay, there's the first three sides. They're just stuck up by sellotape at the moment. The little tab I left on there sort of helps keep it in the centre, but I might have to cut that off because that would make it difficult to take this box and just pull it directly sideways to get it out. Because of that tab being there, you'd have to tilt it down from the top and then take it out. But because there's almost no space, well, there's actually no space at all under there, that would make it difficult to tilt downwards. So that tab might have to be cut, but that's okay. I just tacked that cardboard onto the back so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. I actually bought some black spray paint as well, so if it sits in there like that and it's painted all black, it's probably going to look quite nice, I think. So now I have the top and the sides connected to the frame with the U-joints bolted in there nice and securely. I was going to use more than just the three, but they're pretty solid actually, so I don't think I will. I'll just leave it with those ones. And the piece at the bottom, obviously we can't use a U-joint to connect that one on because it's got the shock absorber right underneath. There's just no way you can attach anything under there. So what I thought I might do is use a couple of these, one at each end, and just bend them, like open this up a bit and screw it on there and there to hold that in. And then with it all solidly in place here, all the corners are lined up quite nicely. I sort of beveled them off a little bit. I will just hold up the large piece of plywood onto the face of this and draw around it to figure out how big it needs to be, and then cut that out and then stick that on with some more of these angle thingies. So here it is with all four walls and one side stuck on, and they're all attached properly with those little brackets now. And I'm just doing a test fit to see if everything goes in there the same way it did when I was laying it out on that cardboard plan. And I think I have a little bit less space than I thought I might, because these are, it'll still fit, but it's a little bit sort of tight there. I think it'll be fine. So that's where I'm going to put my speed controller, and I need a little gap there to let the throttle cable come in and out, and I'll need a hole in here, and I'll need another hole here for the motor. power wires to go out. Good. I brought the motor wires up here and I'm just checking the distances and connections, and I'm going to have to bring this speed controller back just a little bit to make sure that it fits up with these wires there. There's not too much room to spare, so instead of there, instead of here, it's going to have to be here. But fortunately I still have just enough room to put the batteries in, so the rest of it's not going to change. But the ESC is going to collide with this bolt that was on here, so I'm going to have to shift that back as well. Okay, I think I'm done now. So I have a nice hinge on the top. I haven't actually decided how I'm going to stick it down at the bottom. I'll get to that some other time. But the batteries fit in there. There's not as much room vertically as I would have liked, because I want to put some sort of foam padding between them and leave some airspace in between the batteries, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that as well as I wanted to. But they fit in there at least, and all the wires look like they're going to be able to work properly. So the motor is going to come in through this little groove, and everything connects all right there. And the throttle has a little hole at the top front for it to come in. And on the right side we have this kind of window for the speed controller. Turns out that I didn't really need to make one on the other side. I guess when I mounted the speed controller it sort of moved to that side a little bit, so I was able to close this door without it getting in the way. So I think for now I'll just leave this flat closed, and hopefully that will be okay. And the hinges are going to be on the outside, which is not really what I sort of envisioned, but I didn't really think it through very well, so they're going to have to be on the outside. Otherwise it just sort of gets a little bit awkward to open it. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. I think I'll give it a bit of paint and it's done.